Hi, hello, and welcome to Shankar IAS Academy's Daily Current Affairs analysis. And today's date is 20/12/2025. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can also hit on the bell icon if you want to receive instant notification and updates from our channel. And let's move on to the topics of discussion for the day. The first topic of the day is about digital arrest and how it has been lingering in the present scenario. The second is about Andhra's rare earth corridor and the rare earth minerals that are present there, and why Beijing's air quality model cannot be used in Delhi. So that's the third topic, and the fourth topic is about intimate partner violence and why it's a public health concern. The fifth topic is the prelims focus. The first topic of the day is about digital arrest. Let's say that people say you're under arrest, but there are no uniforms, there are no warrant, just arrest virtually. And this creates a moral panic inside all of us because this is something very new, very novel in this present context. And that is why this is very important to decode. Let's move into it. So, what is digital arrest is the first question. It's a form of cyber fraud. The cyber fraud is where criminals pose as law officials. It may be some kind of government authority, it may be from the enforcement directorate, it may be from the CBI, but they say something called as virtual custody. Now this virtual custody, what is this virtual custody? It is basically you being monitored virtually 24/7 or for a period of time, saying that you are not allowed to make any phone calls, make any contact with your family, and this creates some kind of intimidation and psychological abuse. This can be also called as coercive detention. In our context, this can also be called as coercive detention in a form, and this is very harmful psychologically. Now the modus operandi. How does it happen? Initially, the fraudsters reach out via your phone, your WhatsApp, your Skype, or any of your social media profiles using some spoof number. It's not an original number, it's a spoof number based on which they approach you, and then they impersonate themselves as from the CBI or from the NCB or from the RBI, from the police, and they say that you have committed a fraud. Now initially you are bound to believe what they are saying, and then they say that you have done something, and this creates a moral panic inside you. You start to believe these false allegations, or when they say that your Aadhaar card is linked to a certain crime, your Aadhaar number is available anywhere, and if you don't want to feel like you're guilty, you're obviously bound to say that okay, I will cooperate with this lawful procedure, but I have not done anything wrong. That's how your mind works, and this is what these terrorists capture on, and this is what these cyber frauds capture on, and they create a sense of moral panic inside yourself, and then they use deep fakes, or they use some kind of stage mechanism wherein they have backgrounds as courtrooms, or they have backgrounds as police stations, they wear fake uniforms, they use forged FIRs, and these arrest warrants actually appear legitimate. You will actually doubt whether this is something that's happening naturally, but you have to remember one point: there is no legal digital arrest. There is no legal digital arrest anywhere, so that is something that is very important to remember. And then this virtual custody. This virtual custody is a concept where you are bound to remain in continuous video calls, often for days, cut off from your family, from your friends, from any form of psychological help. Henceforth, this is also a form of psychological abuse, and that is very important to remember. And then money is demanded. If you want bail, you have to pay such amount, or this is for verification, you have to pay this amount of fine, or this is for security deposit, and false assurances are given. One example is that we have to remember as a very important example is in the year 2024, which happened in Bangalore. So what happened in Bangalore? In Bangalore, you see a IT professional who was mid-aged. He was extorted with about 1.2 crores. It's not just some thousands of rupees. It's about 1.2 crores, saying that he has committed some money laundering activity. His Aadhaar card was linked to some money laundering activity, and he was forced to pay that amount of fine. Only when his family and friends reached out to him saying, what happened to you, did he understand that he has been extorted for money and he has been a victim of this digital arrest. So these false assurances of refund and these false assurances of investigation, these false investigations, this virtual deception, all form a kind of different panic inside people. Next, there are a lot of legal frameworks to tackle this. Before that, we have to start with why this is rising. Why is this digital arrest rising? First, it is because there is low awareness. First is because there is low awareness. Next point is because senior citizens are targeted. They are very unaware. It also comes under low awareness, but this is the target group. They have a lot of pension money, but they are very, very unaware. The next is you have blind trust. You have blind trust. The next is increase of AI. You have AI being increased. And the next, you see that there is a lot of cross border inference and easy access to technology, not only AI but other form of technology. All these are reasons as to why this digital arrest is increasing. Now we see about the Information Technology Act 2000. See, if you go with a complaint of cybercrime, this is the primary law that comes in. So there are a few sections that you have to remember. First is the 66D, 66C, 66D and 66F. So 66C, it punishes any form of identity theft that has such as you are using digital signatures or passwords. That kind of use comes under 66C. In 66D, by fake official calls, or if you make any form of fake impersonation, then it comes under 66D. And in 66F, if you do any form of cyber terrorism, that also comes under 66F. So section 66 of the Information Technology Act is very, very important to remember under cybercrime. Next is the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita BNS. First it was Indian Penal Code, then it became Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. In this section 111, this addresses all the organized cybercrime wherein the syndicates who operate as syndicates and they operate across borders. Here you can remember the case of cyber slavery, specifically in places like Cambodia, Indonesia, how people go from here in search of work and they become cyber slaves there, and they are forced to work for hours with inhuman conditions. That is one point that you can remember. And in 204, there is if there is any impersonation of a public official, as if I am a scammer and posing as a police officer, then there is a impersonation that can happen here. And this also covers all the in section 318, it also covers all the financial fraud that is happening. Then the reporting mechanism. First, you can report with the cyber crime portal. The cyber crime portal reports cyber offences and it verifies in its portal, that is cybercrime.government.in. Here you can report all the offences that is happening, and you can also see if any offences are reported. And the helpline number for reporting such fraudulent activity is 1930. And the Chakshu portal, if you get any suspicious call or any kind of suspicious SMS or WhatsApp message, then you can file a EFIR or 0 FIR under the Sanchar Sati portal. And the FIRs that you are filing, the EFIRs or the 0 FIRs, they can be filed online or at any police station regardless of their jurisdiction. So even if you are in some other place and you want to file an FIR, this extends beyond geographical boundaries. So this is one important point wherein it extends beyond geographical boundaries. And you can also remember the difference between normal FIR and EFIR and when jurisdiction is important. You can read about all this because this will be very important. Next is about the government and institutional mechanism wherein the I4C, Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center. This is a very important agency, very significant under the Ministry of Home Affairs. This provides a framework wherein they deal with cyber crimes and cyber bullying. Next is the CERT-IN, the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. This response is to all the cyber security incidents, and they issue advisories on how new threats are emerging and how they have to tackle that. That's also done here. Next is the SAM via platform. This platform is a data repository. This data repository is where law enforcement or interstate coordination happens with mapping of all the cyber criminal networks, and it is a repository where we can identify what has happened until now. Now the prelims practice question of the day. With reference to cyber crimes, which of the following best defines digital arrest? Legal detention of individual to online court proceedings. Not very close to it. The use of digital surveillance tools by law enforcement to restrict movement. No. A cyber fraud technique where scammers impersonate authorities to place victims under virtual custody and extort money. Yes. Arrest made for committing crimes on digital platforms under IT laws. No, there is no digital arrest concept legally until now. So the answer should be C. Let's check. Yes. A cyber fraud technique where scammers impersonate authority to place victims under virtual custody and extort money. With this, we have come to the end of the first topic, and we have to understand how policy making is crucial and how we have to balance between the growth of digital literacy and scams and new novel methods to extort money and other forms of manipulation and psychological abuse. With this, we come to the end of the first topic and we move to the second topic of the day. In regard to this topic of the day, we have to talk about something very significant. Earlier, it was oil that was at the center of geopolitics. Everywhere that we see, there have been wars fought for oil and for resources. And today, we are going to talk about something even more rare, even more distinct and even more significant. That is the rare earth minerals. The rare earth minerals are very significant because you see any smartphone, any EV vehicle or anything electronic, there is a trace of rare earth minerals, and that is why it is very important to discuss Andhra Pradesh's rare earth corridor, which can be very significant for India. Let's decode. So the location and geographical significance, if we see that Andhra Pradesh has a 974 kilometer coastline, and this is filled with a lot of heavy mineral traces from Srikakulam to Nellore. Now there are some identified locations, about 9 locations that we see that are present over here, and it includes the Bhuminipattinam, the Kakinada, the Narsapur, Kalingapattinam, Machilipattinam, Modarevu, Ramayapattinam, Chirala and Durgarajapattinam. So major minerals that are present is the monazite. The monazite is the primary source of rare earth elements and also thorium. Now there are other elements as well, like rutile, zircon, garnet, sillimanite, ilmenite and everything. So monazite and rare earth potential. Monazite grade in Andhra Pradesh is that there is about 55 to 60% of rare earth oxides, and this monazite is among the highest globally having rare earth oxides, and there is about rare earth oxides about thorium are inside the bracket range of 8 to 10%. And again, the rare earth elements are also present in neodymium, samarium, cerium, praseodymium, lanthanum, europium, gadolinium, and there is a strategic use. Here when we talk about the permanent magnets, we have to remember the case of China, because usually in China we see that they are the largest exporter in terms of permanent magnets, and this happened because they invested very carefully at the earlier times. So now we have to be very careful in terms of our investments, and these permanent magnets are very significant because they used in the manufacture of the electric vehicles, the wind turbines, etc. So there are a lot of national reserves. The total heavy mineral and sand reserves in India is about 300 million tons approximately, and the monazite is about 12 to 15 million tons. And nearly, if you take the total monazite reserves 100%, nearly 30 to 35% of the monazite reserves are present in Andhra Pradesh, and this reserve can potentially meet up to 40 to 50% of India's rare earth mineral requirement for a few decades. And now the strategic importance is that China, as already mentioned, controls this globally, and it has a large processing capacity. Now we can diversify our supply chains if Andhra also emerges as a very, very important strategic factor, and it's critical for clean energy transition, for defense and semiconductors, for space and advanced electronics. Now the policy framework moves to a point wherein there's a lot of statistical data. First, we have about 16,000 hectares of beach sand mining, and we have mining leases for that, and 100 hectares are cleared and allotted via open tender, and there is also proposal for 400 hectares after this. And Indian Rare Earth Limited is talking about the monazite processing that is exclusively under the Atomic Energy Act of IREL, and the private miners must hand over monazite to these IREL. They cannot keep it for their personal use, and about 10,000 TPA monazite processing plant is at Goodur, Nellore, etc. So this critical mineral mission is launched by the Ministry of Mines. It targets 24 critical minerals like neodymium, dysprosium, yttrium, cobalt, etc. And the focus is on recovery from mining waste, red mud, fly ash and tailings. So the funding is up to 100 crores per project, and 90% of the central funding is for pilot projects. And let's look at some additional facts. A monazite was classified as radioactive under the Atomic Energy Act in 1962. And thorium has a 3-stage nuclear program and is very, very key to India. And if we reduce the import dependence from 95%, this could reduce to 50% in 5 years and help India. So let's move on to the prelims practice question of the day. With reference to rare earth elements, consider the following statements. Monazite is the principal source of rare earth elements in India, contains significant quantities of thorium. Private companies in India are permitted to independently process monazite for rare earth extraction without involvement of any public sector undertaking. No. So let's look at the answer. We know that private companies should give all this back to the IRDL. So let's check. The answer is 1 only. So with this, we have come to the end of this topic. So the next topic of the day is in regard to air pollution in Delhi. And whenever we see winter, we also talk about the smog in Delhi, we talk about the winter in Delhi, but there was one place which was way more worse than Delhi, that is Beijing. But Beijing has significantly reduced its air pollution. But here is why that model cannot be replicated in Delhi, and why there is a difference between command and negotiation. Let's decode. The core context, that is, Beijing has significantly reduced its air pollution. Yes, it has done it, but there is a lot of aspect of governance, its capacity in terms of finance, its policy tool making, and these cannot be directly replicated in Delhi, as already said. So India has to adapt to its lessons and not implement China's prophecy as such in the Indian context. Now let's have some learnings from Beijing that can be replicated in India. The first is the regional airshed based planning. Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei. This is a regional framework wherein there was coordinated action across an airshed. But here also we have a catch. This can be replicated, but the airshed of Delhi is expansive across 6 states. Henceforth, the airshed is higher, but in Delhi, in the opposite, if you see Beijing, the the pollution mostly comes from the Hebei province. So this regional framework worked extensively there, but we have to understand that this is a very federal process. If you are going to have a coordinated action, then it's a federal process. It is not unified as in the case of Beijing. So the political status of that place also plays a major role. Then it covers approximately about 2.2 lakh square kilometer, and there are 2 governed municipalities and 1 province in Beijing. So air pollution requires regional coordination. So it's not just city to city based solutions, it also requires a regional coordination. But why this can be replicated, but also the difficulties across come in the political scenario, because there is no electoral backlash in China. There is no judicial intervention as such. Judicial intervention, there is no judicial intervention as such, and there is also a prime importance that is given to unified command, and everybody follows it easily. So in India, it spans across 6 states as already mentioned. The first is the Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh. So it has multiple governance layers, and it requires a new federal and interstate governance mechanism that is also there, because as already said, 6 states, meaning it cannot be unified. There needs to be some federal understanding that is between the states. Henceforth, that's very important. Next is the transport sector reform. Let's compare between Beijing and India. So in Beijing, they have told that private vehicle growth has to be negotiated and it has to be reduced. So on the contrary, they increased the public transport. They increased the public transport facility. So this was curbed, and the rapid vehicle electrification also happened. So the result is transport emissions reduced significantly. But in the Indian status, we have adopted the Bharat stage emission norms. We have a ongoing push for the electric vehicles, and the public vehicle growth remains unchecked. But here they were able to check the public vehicle growth. So here it was good, but here it is unchecked, so it is a point of contention here. Next, the NCR worldwide that has increased and integrated the public transport, but still it is not as adequate as in China. Now the coal and industrial emission control. In Beijing, the coal has been reduced by approximately 90%, the coal use, and very strict emission standards have been followed there. But here you see there is norms, but exemptions are not as strict. It is not as strict as China in India, and the PM from coal power plants is approximately greater than 10 mg or equal to 10 mg per millicube, and this is the differentiation between Beijing and China. Here we have to understand that China has reduced PM 2.5 significantly, and that is one of the major achievements that China has done. Next is what will not work in India, that is industrial shutdowns. See, there, because you have a unified government in China, China has a unified government, and henceforth it is very easy for them to do the mass replacement. It is easy for them to relocate. Industrial shutdown, it is easier in comparison, but here it will cause mass job losses which cannot be afforded by India. It is socially infeasible and it risks regional decentralization. That's also regional deindustrialization. That's also there. And there's also high physical spending, wherein Beijing spent billions of dollars for their air cleanup, but that physical capacity is lacking in India. Next is the India specific challenges, wherein we have a lot of stubble burning in the Punjab Haryana belt, and we also have a lot of biomass based cooking and heating. There is a large number of informal micro enterprises like brick kilns, jaggery units, metal works, etc. And there is also a complex multi-level governance. That is, if the center makes a law, there is also federal autonomy, so state should be able to implement that. Then you have the municipal structure, but all this, the political factor plays a major role. So here this is absent in terms of China. Next, with reference to air pollution control strategies, consider the following statements. Beijing's success in reducing air pollution was aided by strict enforcement of emission standards and large-scale reduction in coal usage. Yes. The primary reason for Beijing's air pollution model cannot be replicated in Delhi is absence of electric vehicle technology in India. So this is abruptly wrong. Electric vehicle technology absence and all is not there. So we are actually pushing the electric vehicles to be taken, and we are also giving a lot of incentives for it. Which one of the statement above is correct? So incorrect or correct, you have to check that it's correct. So statement 1 only. Let's check the answer. Yes, it's 1 only. With this, we come to the end of this particular topic, and we move to the next topic of the day. Now, we are moving on to the main topic of the day. It is about intimate partner violence. This is something that transcends the boundary of gender, because people usually stereotype this with women, but there are people from all walks of life who undergo intimate partner violence, and it is an unrecognized public health crisis. It is not just legal, it's not just social, but it is a public health crisis in India. And let's decode why this is happening and how we say that this is a public health crisis. So the core issue, first we are reframing the idea of intimate partner violence that we have. First, intimate partner violence is not just something criminal, it's not just something social, it is a major public health risk factor. Now there's this Lancet report which was published, and it says that intimate partner violence is the leading cause for disability and chronic illness, especially in South Asia. This can be used as a intro or can be used in any form of conclusion in our mains perspective. Then comes for women in reproductive ages in India and in South Asia, the highest form of risk that we have is from the intimate partner violence. It is not sugar, it is not blood pressure, it's not obesity, but intimate partner violence. So there is a lot of health burden that has come in. The intimate partner violence has caused about 1.85 crore people to be affected, and there are a lot of health outcomes that have come in relation to this. First is the mental health crisis like post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety or suicide. And physical health affects cardiovascular disease, chronic pain, gastrointestinal disorders. And in reproductive health, there is pregnancy outcomes. How does this pregnancy outcome play a role is, let's imagine that you have a child, and if the child sees a violence that is happening there, then that comes under the intergenerational trauma, generational trauma. And if not in that case, then if the baby is a fetus inside the womb of the mother, then also it faces a form of violence from the outside. So there are a lot of health outcomes that come into play. Now, why is it, let us see why is it more prominent, and how in the Indian context why it remains very invisible. The first is the scale of exposure. See, the scale of exposure is so large, the population of India is so large. So this has to be identified as a public health crisis. but this is not identified in this. And the second is cultural silence. As already mentioned in the PPT, cultural silence is about the domestic violence and about mental health, and people are not able to say what they feel. And this concept of private matter, people say that this is a private matter or a family matter and they're not allowed to seek help. This is also one of the most important points. And women present with non-specific symptoms like, you know, fatigue or insomnia or pain, they're just disregarded. They said that this is not something that's very, very important, it's not very prominent. And then it is treated symptom wise across departments. So you only care for the symptoms and you don't know what the cause is. The cause here is ignored. And medical people, they do not go for the cause in such cases because it is treated symptom wise. And then the data says that about 30% of Indian women report lifetime of intimate partner violence, but health system recognizes it very, very minimally. And then across genders, if you see gender across women and across men, it's very, very different. Across women, you see that their reproductive health gets affected, but across men, if you see, their abuse to their body with any form of substance abuse, with any form of self-sabotaging abuse with terms of alcohol or smoking, is very, very increasing. So the abuse pattern is very, very different, and the ways to come out also is very, very different. And this also has to do with a lot of cultural stereotypes that happen and how they are disregarded in place. Now there are a lot of systemic gaps in healthcare because it is largely the intimate partner violence is largely confined to forensic medicine. It's not clinical, and it is approximately just with 1 hour to listen to women's issues. Now there is also a lack of trauma informed care. What does it mean? See, doctors lack to ask questions safely or document or refer, and these referrals to psychiatry are often restricted by family because they have this form of symbolic ideology wherein, you know, psychiatry is something that has to do with some mental disorder. So parents or family members do not want you to seek that kind of help. So that also affects and plays a major part. Next is about the institutional disconnect. This is between the law, the healthcare, your personal social identity, your professional identity. There is a institutional disconnect, and therefore health is not prioritized in this case. And policy programs and limitations. One-stop centers or the Bhumika clinics in Kerala, it is helpful, but only in if you are normally calling for some precautionary case, then the importance is not as much. But in case you are calling for some kind of crisis situation, they definitely do help. Then the PMJ and NHM, wherein see, there is no long-term care pathway, but these again help with regard to this. And there are a majority of women who do not seek the legal separation, but they want to address that there is something going on. So there should be proper policy making in case of this. And we also have to remember how WHO had termed something called shadow pandemic. If you remember, this term, the shadow pandemic, was used in 2020 during the COVID pandemic, where a lot of people who were inside the house faced a lot of violence and lot of intimate partner violence, and that's why WHO termed this as shadow pandemic. Now the way forward is to recognize that intimate partner violence is a major health risk factor. It is similar to smoking, it is similar to obesity, and then we have to have a lot of integrated aspect as to deal with intimate partner violence. So it should be integrated with the medicine, the psychiatry, the community, the health and everything. And then you have to strengthen the primary healthcare screening for any IPV linked symptom. Then the doctors and the nurses, the ashas, if they are trained for trauma informed care, then that also could be beneficial. Then the convergence model, wherein your health, your mental health, your social support, everything is an integrated one framework. And then aligned with the WHO Inspire framework, which comes under the SDG 3 health and SDG 5 gender and equality. So with this, we move to the mains practice question of the day. Intimate partner violence is increasingly being recognized as a major health risk rather than merely a social or a legal issue. Critically examine the shift in perspective of the Indian context and discuss its implication for healthcare systems and medical education. Please do send us your answer copy so that we can help you evaluate and understand more about this question. And with this, we come to the end of the mains topic of the day and we move to the next topic for the day. So we have come to the prelims pointer of the day. So first we are going to start with the first topic, that is the draft content syndication policy. So what is this? Basically, we know that we have a lot of public service broadcasters in India. We want all of that to come under one particular platform and be monetized. So this bill is drafted by the Prasar Bharati, that is the India's public service broadcaster. That is monetizing, as I already mentioned, the monetizing of content. That is, you are going to, just like Netflix or Amazon Prime, you are going to pay money and monetize content from Doordarshan, Akashvani, their archives, the OTT platforms, and in the future if we have any government events that is going to happen like sports or festivals, it is also going to be lively covered. This will enable even domestic cooperation between our states or international collaborations. Henceforth, India's cultural heritage will be reached globally, and the licensing model is based on revenue sharing, minimum guarantee and flat fee. So this is the draft of the content syndication policy of 2025. Next is the Tribhuvan Sankari University. This is a national level university and this is based for cooperative sector. This is established by the Ministry of Cooperation, and you see a bill here, Tribhuvan Sankari University Bill, that is the act of the parliament. This bill is what has propelled for this particular university's national importance. And again, there are new programs that have come in. We see that there are MBAs in a lot of fields and walks of life. Now MBA in cooperative management has come into accord, and there is also cooperative banking and finance and agricultural management. So from the current academic year, there is MBA in all these realms as well, which is a welcome change for us. Next comes the ICAR INTA Work Plan 2025 to 27. This is signed between two agencies. One is the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, that is from India, to the National Institute of Agricultural Technology, Argentina. So the objective is to enhance the bilateral cooperation in agricultural research, and their technologies also are to be exchanged, and we are going to promote our sustainable agroeconomy, our digital agriculture and our biotechnology. This is basically a symbiotic relationship that we will be having with Argentina, and we can also facilitate the germplasm exchange, our expertise sharing or capacity building based on what happens in both the places. With this, we will move to the prelims practice question of the day. With reference to National Bureau of Plant and Genetic Resources, consider the following statements. It functions under the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. Yes. It is responsible for the collection, yes, conservation, yes, characterization, yes, documentation of plant resources in India. Yes, this point is also right. It manages the Indian National Gene Bank, regulates plant quarantine and germplasm exchange. How many of the statements given above are correct? It's 1, 2, 3, all 3. Let's check the answer. Yes, all 3 is the right answer. Thank you for watching our video. We hope you liked it. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel and continue watching. Thank you.